the buildings, making it look nice and those sort of things. The university, all that the university can do there is to recommend that, you know what, we need the health sciences fixed, or we need technology to be fixed, or we need the administrative building to be a new one, or whatever the case. That's all they can do. They are not responsible to say, hey, what, put $10 million to build this or build that. Central government is responsible for that. The University of Guyana dictates is their recurrent expenditure budget. They are not responsible for capital works around the campus. So if we don't get our leaders, our mentors, our political leaders to come out and support the University of Guyana, then we're heading nowhere.
But let me interject there. I think that is part of the problem. I strongly believe that another aspect of the problem is the kind of proper principle that we have, that kind of mendicant mentality, where we always have an outstretched hand. Part of the government's role, and part of what we'd like to see our government do, is inject some finances more than they are doing into the university. But the university of itself, like other institutions in the world that are faced with a similar problem, other educational institutions, you have to come up with creative means in generating income. And as I keep saying, I said over the last year, our research has shown us that UWI, other places in the US, they have gone about it in a strategical matter. Universities around the world that own supermarkets, that own hotels to house the students. These are creative and innovative ways in which they subsidize the cost of education. I'm not saying this is what we have to do, but we can also look at similar things. Scholarships, big businesses coming on board in a meaningful way. Let me interject, meaningful there, and provide scholarship. That is another way in terms of bringing down the cost of education.
Look, we have a problem right now on campus. Optometry, pharmacy, and rehabilitation science students. We have transformed that program from being an associate degree to a full degree program, so that it could be recognized in the Caribbean and worldwide. So it has the fees have also been adjusted from $127,000 as the associate fee to $250,000 as the degree fee. The government was giving loan to the students in the associate degree at one. Now the program has been improved to a full degree program. The cost is $250. They're not giving no loan, not a single dollar. There are actually 30 to 40 students who are suffering with this problem. Now, are we going to allow them to leave the campus and suspend the program? Because come the eve of a final exam, which is the eve of the 13th, if they don't find that money to pay, they will have to leave. So all we're asking for as the student body, the government has their take, that their side on it, that they're not going to issue unless the fees drop to $127,000. The administration has their role. They're saying that we cannot drop it because we have to buy proper lab equipment. We have to have proper lab facilities, proper classrooms to conduct the course, because it's a practical course to put the people out there to look after society. So they're saying that they can't reduce it. It's not feasible. The government is saying they're not issuing a loan. We are saying continue to give the students the $127 that you have been giving them before, and then let them find the remainder. They don't have a problem with that either. I don't see that being a bad thing.
No, and as we go through the discussion, I think it's important that we, as what you guys are pointing out, this got to be a joint effort.
Yes,
and I don't want to step back down even further down. I mean, Jane, as a teacher and a graduate of the Teachers College, and I've taught in the classroom, the primary school system, and I'm proud that you guys have gotten this far to the university level, but I am more worried also that our next generation, you know, your potential children, I don't think you have any children, what are they going through right now? Jane, what are you seeing in the primary school system that needs to be addressed?
Some of the things that needs to be addressed in the primary level is, for example, take Mr. Williams, the headmaster of Indian Multilateral Secondary School. He came down, he stood up for children that couldn't make the 40% pass mark to be promoted. And he thought not to promote them. Now, parents agree, teachers also agree, but the ministry does not agree. They have implemented this policy where every child has to be promoted. But how can you send a child through the school system and they cannot even construct a simple sentence? Sometimes they can't even recognize their own name. Now, who best should know what these children need?
No, the teachers.
teachers.
The
The
teachers that
teachers.
mentor them.
Is I think one of the phrases that came out of a previous discussion we were having is that false sense of that we are doing something. Is that false sense that movement is not always the same as progress. I have a 2-year-old son,
Okay.
actually, and I think it is wicked if he has a teacher who doesn't holistically consider his growth, and because he's of a certain age, say him, well, you are going to go over into the other class without meeting the requirements for that other step. Part of doing what I do is because of him. I believe if I have gone to the university for 5 years, for 4 years, and I have left that place the exact way I found it, then I would have been wicked.
Exactly.
It is going to tell on us, and it's going to be an indictment on our generation. If 18 years from now, if 17, 16 years from now, when Jean-Pierre goes to UG, he has to encounter the very same problem.
Been encountering.
So
And the very issues that we are fighting for.
Yeah. That's good. But what are some of the solutions for that to the primary school system?
Well, the minister is saying that they wouldn't recall the policy. But what can they do? They can improve on that same policy. And in ways in which they can improve on that policy now is to test. They need to test the policies first before they implement it, because the education system is very delicate. You can't just implement the policy because we do not know the children learn. Children learn differently. Some of them may be academically inclined, some are not. So now what you should listen to what teachers now would suggest to do with these children that cannot gain the 40% pass.
But it comes back to the whole thing that we're saying, that we need a collaborative effort from both parties,
Yes.
from the ministry and from the teachers at the school.
But the
or the
ministry is
different
not
schools.
listening to the teachers. They are battling the teachers.
But part of the solution, what Peter is saying, remedial education is important. And from my reading of history says that in the past we've had those schools, students who cannot cope with the content,
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
content of regular school, then that kind of system caters for that. And I don't know, perhaps the sociologists in time will be able to tell us if there's a correlation between all of these very young bandits and robbers that we were seeing with that kind of system.
Yes, but how do we deal with these children that learn? We need to make facilities available now to find out what are their skills and to build on their skills.
But physical education, you mentioned, I think you have a slide on one of our top schools in Guyana where the playground. I mean, what was physical education?
They're not catering for physical education. The schools doesn't have proper. The compound is overgrown, flood.
But how much money you were telling me that?
We spend 8.3% of our GDP on education.
8.3%. That puts us at somewhere around
At
the
the top spending of,
the world,
on
almost,
education in the world.
Yes,
Yeah, but
and while that is important, and while that is necessary, and perhaps we even should spend some more on education, I think we have to start looking at even development across education.
Yes.
But before you go there, sure, you said are we seeing the results? I mean, as I'm the politician again among you guys, as I travel around the country, I see schools, I see classrooms in supply in East Bank Demerara. The students are sitting on 2 chairs.
Students are even writing on the boards that the painters put across to get up and paint the buildings.
Yes.
Students are using that as desks.
So the 8.9% doesn't add up. If we were 8.3%, if we were spending that much money in our GDP on, as Jane said, on our education system, you may not have been having the issues at university at this point.
Exactly. And coming out from that, we were able to see that within the last week, it is something that our country seems to be exception. We have had a number of foreign students on our campus recently. We had a students' movement conference on our campus. And some of the issues that we are grappling with, they would have turned this whole country upside down to get them fixed.
Exactly.
There are campuses in the region, if the toilets don't have tissue,
They would shut down the entire campus.
I wish we showed up toilets again.
But that is what all of us need to come together and do. We need to just shut everything down to come out.
We had students from Trinidad, students from
Belize,
Turks and
Jamaica,
Caicos across the region.
the entire Caribbean,
That
Suriname
is-
too.
yes,
Suriname was
we
there.
take a
We are
stand.
grappling
Yeah.
with when the people came.